What's up everybody, Sam Smyers here. Today I want to give you some tips on how to create this UK garage bass that is like a Reese bass but uses mostly sine waves. The best example I can think of for this sound is Your Love by Sosa. I had actually made a preset of this sound about a year ago and it sounds like this. And I put a little bit of EQ on the effects and just some compression in this preset. I'm going to explain how to make this sound and then how to get even deeper to make more variations of this sound. And as I go through this, I'm going to say garage. I know that a lot of people are going to say it's garage, but that's how we say it in America. It's garage. So that's with my American accent. I'm going to say garage. So just want to get that out of the way because I know I'm going to see some comments about me pronouncing it incorrectly. So let me just explain this preset first, and then I'll start from scratch, and then we'll just build out some examples, and I'll just try some things, try to create a flow of creating some interesting sounds. Now, for this sound with a Reese bass, what you're doing is you're taking a combination of usually saw waves and detuning them slightly so that they create this phasing sound, and this phasing sound creates the unique texture of what a Reese bass is, and you get this like wobble effect. Now when you're using sine waves, you get this wobbling effect that is more pronounced. So let me actually put on some headphones because it's going to be easier for me to hear this, and if you have headphones it will probably be easier for you to hear these sine waves as well. So I'm going to put on my headphones and just explain this preset. Let me play this again. Now you can hear it a bit better when you go up into the higher register. The main thing of this sound, this first oscillator is just going to be a sine wave -1 octave. Let's take that off. Now the wobble is going to be created by this oscillator B, which has the semitones up +7, and then I have this unison at 2 and the detuning at about 16, and I've got this filter turned on a bit. And the effects, I just have some EQ taking out some of the rumble because there's a bit too much rumble when I add in that low end of this oscillator A. Now what I did with this 2 voices of unison is if I go into the global section, the width is at 0. Now that means that both of these sine waves are on top of each other. Like if that width was at 100%, one would be in your left ear and the other one would be in your right ear. But if they're both on top of each other, detuned slightly, then they start to phase and it creates that wobble effect. And you can control that phasing by adjusting this detuning. And that's how you're going to create that wobble effect. Now now that you understand that for how I made this preset, let me go ahead and initialize this preset, and I will just start trying to make some of these sounds from scratch. Also, I just put out a UK Garage pack, a Serum preset pack that has a few of these sounds in it. If you do want to grab that pack, I will put a link down below or somewhere in the video where you can check that out. So let's just go ahead and put the voicing into mono for every bass. A lot of bass sounds, I'll put that into mono. Maybe just make some adjustments to my envelope to get some of that clicking. Gonna put the randomness to 0, and we'll go put this onto analog basic shapes. And what I could do is I could go to my copy oscillator A to B, put on 2 sine waves here, and then just detune one of these sine waves. And then I get that wobbly effect. Let's lower these -1 octave. And let me turn on the sub, lower this -2 octave, send this direct out. And so that's a very simple variation of the sound. I do feel like the sound itself is pretty detuned, and if I do it like this where I'm only detuning one of these sine waves, then one of these is the sub's going to be relatively in tune to the song, but this sine wave is also going to be in tune with the song. And I feel like a lot of times the sound, when I hear it in songs, it sounds more detuned overall. What I'm going to do then is adjust this one like negative 30, and then I'll do this one like plus 30. And that sounds a bit better to me. What you could do as well is, let me just put these back to 0, and I will go to my macro knob here and assign this macro knob to the fine tuning. And I'm going to shift and option click this and drag it all the way to the left on this one, and then do the same thing for this oscillator B using the macro knob assigned to the fine tuning. Shift and option clicking, but I'm dragging it all the way to the right, and then I can adjust this macro knob to change the wobble effect, the amount of that wobble. Now that's the simplest way to achieve this sound. I could also do this plus 7, this one plus 7 as well. Like that. Plus 7 usually gets an extra harmonic in there. Now what I like doing is, let's go and turn this one, let's go and take off the macro knob. I like doing it where I had it in the preset where you can just simply raise up the unison and put the global, let's go and put the width of both of these to 0 and adjust the detuning like this. However, it does make it a bit quieter when you do add 2 voices of unison versus 1 voice of unison. What I figured I have to do is just raise up this level. Still not loud enough, so then I add on a bit of a compressor in the effects section. And then I'll turn on that sub. And let's adjust that, take off that semitone, do the semitones to 0. Now this opens up the oscillator B, and what I can do now is I can have this one at the -2 octave, this one above an octave up, and then I can do this one where I can have this one -1 octave and plus 7 semitones. So I could put this one to 0, and let's take that level down now. And this one I could put at 2 voices of unison, raise up this level. And you can also use this filter to filter off if the high end gets a bit too loud. Let's go ahead and just look at a span real quick. If you want to get rid of that high frequency, you can filter some of it off. Like that, or just turn down the level. And you could also try putting 2 voices of unison on here, so you create the wobble effect for this one that is the octave and this one that is the plus 7 semitones. And you can play around with these levels. I could take off the sub. Now I add the sub because this sound is really low when you listen to it. But that sub just adds in the extra, like, let's see where that is. Down below there. You might not need that depending on what your drums are. And if you're mixing and you feel like you don't really need the sub because you got a really subby kick, then maybe not even put in the sub. And you can get away with something like that. Now that's using these basic shapes. You could try even doing +4 semitones. Maybe I'll do this one. Maybe I'll do, let's see, this one -1. I don't like that as much. Let's do this one +4, this one +7. Add on the sub. Oh, it's kind of weird. I'm just experimenting. I'm just going with like a flow, trying to figure this out. Try to create some interesting combinations. That one's okay. Maybe I'll do this one. I like that one. It's a bit of an organy sound. So those are some things you can do with these using sine waves. Let me go ahead and just initialize this preset again. Put this voice on the mono, adjust the attack. You could also try going into the wavetables and experiment with some of the wavetables that have a bit of a sine wave feel. If you go into the harmonic morph, let me put the global width at 0 again. Raise up the unison, take down that randomness. And let's add on the compressor. Maybe I'll EQ this as well. Sometimes it can get a bit boomy, and what I'll do is I'll add on a bit of a duck in the low end. It's got a bit of that nasally feel. Let me just add on a filter. That one doesn't work as well. Let's try this harmonic subtle. And those are okay. It sounds a bit better, like to get that wobble effect when it's closer to a sine wave. I think there are, let's go into the digital. I can go into some of these ones. Not so much. Let's try this one. Take that down, -2 octave. That has a bit of a wobble effect. So you can also experiment with any of these wavetables and just adjusting this detuning, put the unison at 2 and see if you can get a cool effect. Now let me go and take off this filter and let's put on a basic shapes again for the oscillator A. Now what you could do, so I've got that sub there, pretty loud. Let's add the 2 voices of unison. Let's just put this at -1. And you can go into this wavetable editor, and this is how you can create more complex sounds. This wavetable editor, just to briefly explain this, if you click and add these columns and just click here, then it changes the shape. It's adding in harmonics to your sine wave. It's adding in more little sine waves to your original sound. So let me just go ahead and fix this. Initialize. Okay, let's put it on to a sine wave again. Now these highlighted bins are going to add the octave. So let me play a note. And if I play this note, it adds the octave. And if I play this note, it adds another octave. If I add in this bin, then adds in another octave. So those add in the octaves. And knowing that these other ones, they just add in different harmonics. I don't know the exact notes that they'll add, but you can just click in to these bins and create variations of the sound and come up with something unique. Even something like that works. Let's try adding in some more bins. And when you click on these bins, like in the space where you click them, like if I click here, then it raises the level of that harmonic. Let me take this down an octave. Ooh, that sounds nice. Like for a low sub. And maybe I'll go into here, add in a basic shapes. Try adding in some more harmonics. Oops, that does not sound good. That was clipped. As you can see, all I'm doing is I'm just experimenting using these sine waves, using a combination of adding in the sine waves with the wavetable editor, where I'm adding in like the harmonics to this original sine wave. I mean, this sounds really cool. Like a really good organ sound. And if I want the detuning amounts to be the same, I'm going to assign them to the macro knob. Maybe I'll put the sub on lower -2 octave, direct out. It's very organ sounding. Let's add on a bit of filter to there. And maybe play around with the bins again. Now for the effects, I wouldn't really add on too much effects. You could try adding on an EQ, taking out lowering some of the frequencies. Like I just dipped some frequencies around 80 Hertz. Or you could try adding on maybe like a chorus. To get a bit of width, or you could try adding on the hyperdimension. Using a bit of that dimension, let's see what the actual hyper sounds like. Not too much of an effect. I hear more of a effect I like with the dimension or adding on the chorus. Any other effects, like if you add on a distortion, it almost removes that wobble effect. Like you can hear it, but without the distortion, it's almost like you can feel it a bit more without any distortion. So I wouldn't really recommend using distortion. So those are like just some recommendations for creating this Reese bass sound. If you do want to check out any other presets that are for UK Garage, then check out my latest UK Garage Serum preset pack. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. And if you'd like to check out any of my Serum preset packs, head on over to store.smyers.com.